So hi, welcome to Noise Podcast. I'm Shane,
I'm Glory.
and we're here with,
We are with Robin from the band Resolve.
and we're gonna some questions to say about their upcoming album, Humans. Congrats on that, by the way. How do you feel about the response to the announcement so far?
Pretty good. It's been, I guess you guys remember actually, but we did the same podcast together like nearly 2 years ago. And
Mhm.
it's funny to like just a few minutes ago before we like connected, I was thinking like, man, it's already been 2 years, and it's funny to think about all the stuff that's happened in the last 2 years because it's been very busy for us, I guess for you as well.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's good to be back with a new album. Like it's already our second, and I'm excited to show it to the world.
Fuck yeah.
Hell
The
yeah.
the album fucking rips. The opener,
Dude.
bro. I was listening to this
Thank
shit
you.
9 o'clock in the morning, just woke up,
Mhm.
already headbanging. That shit was it's so heavy. I love it.
Oh, dude.
Yeah,
It fucking, yeah.
yeah. The first track especially was the one like when we were working on it in the studio, like because basically our process is vocalist is also the primary songwriter.
Hmm.
So like when he showed us this one demo for the like that's when it just clicked. Like we had the name instantly, and we were like, okay, this should open the album. This should be the name of the album. So yeah, it's a very special one for us for sure.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely. And Shane, I'm so happy you mentioned the title track because I was going to mention
Mm.
that track plus Bloodlust. Those
Yeah,
two, fucking killer, dude.
Mhm.
I fucking, oh
thanks.
my God. You guys crushed it with this album, man.
Yeah, you know what? Bloodlust is actually the only song on the album that's written by our new guitarist, Antonin. So
Oh my God.
I'll let him know that you guys liked it because yeah, it's one of our favorite as well.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Thank you. So is there any meaning behind the album title or cover art?
Well, the first album, as you know, was called Between Me and the Machine. So like I guess you can see the kind of link in between the two. Like it's not really a part two of the album, but we felt like we had like some more stuff to say on this like on the whole matter. So we thought, okay, let's because it's also more personal, I think, than the first one. So
Mhm.
I think it was making a lot of sense to call it human because, well, it's about first and foremost our humanity, but also like the whole of humanity, which is in a tough spot at the moment. So yeah, that's where the name of the album came from.
Hmm.
And
Makes
any
sense.
meaning behind the cover art?
Well, the cover art, it's what I like about it is that you can like see different meaning depending on how you look at it. Like it can be a maze, just as like we can be like quite an enigma as people. It
Mhm.
can like I like to see it also as I'm blinking on the English word, but like before the baby's born, when it's like in the mother's uterus, what's the word for it in English? You know what I'm saying? Like when it's still like
Fetus?
a yeah. Oh, so it's actually the same name as in French. So yeah,
Oh, okay.
it can like I also like to see like the with the bits in the middle, like kind of a fetus, but a metallic one. So that's
Hmm.
I like the contrast in between the two. It's supposed to be very open to interpretation. But what's
Mhm.
a funny thing to say about it is that it was inspired by artificial intelligence. Like the very first drafts of the album were made using I'm not sure which one it is. Could have been Midjourney or DALL-E, one of these. But we actually took a lot of inspiration, just like putting in prompts to artificial intelligences and seeing like stuff that we wouldn't have thought about.
Mhm.
And like we kind of came up with the maze concept thanks to this. So it's paradoxal to like have the album called Human, but it's kind of like AI generated. But
Mhm.
I guess that makes sense in a way.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did you guys? What I'm gathering is you gathered the ideas with AI, and then did you take it to like an artist with that idea, or is the cover art that we see AI generated?
Um, it's been a it's been quite a process. Basically, we had like some sort of sketches made with an AI. We took kind of the best parts of it, and one of our basically our art director, the guy who does like all of our music videos and artwork and stuff, he just kind of did a new one inspired by some we liked, and then we sent it to another friend who does like 3D creation basically. So he made it like look 3D and rendering like different views so that we could use it for like the booklet and stuff, or some merch stuff. So yeah, it went like that basically.
Okay.
For sure. And I think you nailed it, like nail on the head with saying that the cover art could be just like whatever whoever's looking at it, sees it as, damn, that was a lot. But because I look at it and I immediately thought it was a fingerprint. But you're saying maze or like a fetus. But genuinely, I was like, oh, that's a fingerprint. Okay. But now that you mentioned fetus, I could see that. Now that you mentioned maze, I could see that. So it
could definitely
brilliant.
be a fingerprint. Yeah. Good call. I mean, it slipped my mind, but obviously, like some of us caught it as well. But yeah, a fingerprint as well.
Yeah. It's cool. So
can you tell us a little bit about your writing process for the album?
So like I was saying, basically it's kind of a similar process as the first one, more refined, I'd say. But basically, our vocalist and songwriter Anthony, he's got like his little home studio. He lives in the mountains, like about 1 hour from where I live. So he's constantly writing. He's just like an incredible guitarist and incredible just musician overall. So it just like always comes up with demos. Some of them he knows like won't make the cut in advance, but there's always like there's 2 folders whenever we start working on music. It's like the ones where he feels like strongly about, and it usually has like a lot of good stuff. But there's also the one where he says, I don't know, this is probably like too out there or too weird for us. And we always end up picking like a lot of stuff from this one folder as well. But once he's done with like, say he writes maybe like 10, 12, 15 demos, we get together, we work like on the structure of the songs, we work on the arrangements, like adding some beats or sometimes removing them. More often than not removing them, actually, because he tends to like build and he can have like 5, 6 different riffs in one song, which can be like sometimes too much. So it's a matter of balancing it. But so we work on the instrumental first, and then once we're happy with the first version of a track, we collectively try to write some vocals and some like melodies and patterns, like all together actually in the studio. And this time we are like recording the final text for the album as we were coming up with the stuff, like as opposed to doing a vocal demo first, like we did for the first one. We realized that sometimes the first impression, or just like the first draft, sometimes it holds like more emotion to it than when you're trying to recreate it later down the line, but just sounding better, but that doesn't really mean anything. So this time we thought, you know what? I mean, if we have to redo some stuff down the line because we feel like it could have been better or anything, we will do it, and we have. But a lot of stuff was just like, okay, we've got this melody, try a couple of takes. Okay, it's sounding great. Next, because I mean, sometimes we questioned ourselves a lot on the first album and went back and forth on a lot of versions, and we felt like maybe at some point we were getting lost, and maybe we had the best version of the song like from the start. So we thought for this new one, let's just keep it maybe more spontaneous.
Okay, yeah, that's really really interesting, because like you hear artists all the time talking about how they've got like the demo was where they felt like all the emotion was in vocally, and it's like they just can't recreate it. Actually, with one of the artists, I manage bands, that's like my day job. One of the artists that I work with, we had a song that came out, and they just like they don't like that version of the song because the demo is like where they're like the emotion's in the fucking demo, so now we have to put the demo out later on because they're like people have to hear that version of the song.
Yeah, I think it has a name, right? I mean, I know in France we like demoitis or something.
Demoitis.
Like you are
yeah.
demoitis, like when you're too. Like it can go both ways. Like sometimes an artist, because I'm a music producer as well, so I see a lot of artists coming into my studio, and like they love their demos because they are emotionally attached to it. And it's kind of my job also to sometimes you're like, okay, like I think this is better than anything we could do together, but sometimes you also have to like push the artist to try harder. It just depends on the material, on what you want to carry with it as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what song off this album took the longest to write, and which one is your personal favorite?
I'll start with my personal favorite, which I think is Human. I think New Colors come close. I really, really love In Stone, which is kind of the ballad. I'm a sucker for ballads, so that's why.
Yeah.
The longest to write, mm, nothing actually. Like, there's really not one that comes to my mind. I think the one that maybe like was the most different from the demo was probably New Colors,
Mm.
the 10th track on the album. Like, yeah, because I remember when we were working on it, it was it was a lot different, like in terms of structure, and it was like, I think it was maybe longer, and I was the one who came up with the main like synth hook. So I think that's the one that maybe changed the most in between the demo, the original demo and the final version.
Mm.
But yeah, like, also like because we released, sorry, like the release campaign for this one has been very long because we started I want to say November 2022 was when we released Move to Trash.
Yeah.
But I mean, the album wasn't like done or anything at this point, but we knew it was going to be part of the album.
Mm.
So like, obviously this one took a lot longer to produce and mix and record because we do that ourselves as well. Because it was going to be like the kind of the template for the new album. So I would say more time went into this one, but just because we thought this would be a cool first single. Like, it's not because of the actual track.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
That's fair.
So how'd the track list for the album come about? Did you guys write the opener be the opener, close be a closer, just shuffle around and see what fits? What was that process like?
We tend to do that in a way. Like I was saying in the beginning, Human was not like the first song that was written, but from this moment we started to have like a proper direction for the album. So from this moment, we like when we had Human, I want to say we had maybe like 4-5 songs before that ended up being on the album. So once we had this first one, we were like, okay, this is the first one. So imagine like what would be cool going right after. I think we already had Desolate, so it was pretty obvious from the start that it would be number 2. Like the closer of the album was definitely written with it being a closer in mind, and it's kind of similar to that. That's something I think we want to make kind of a signature move. Is we always have a very dark song as the penultimate one, so the one before the last one. Mm-hmm. But we like to finish our albums with a more positive vibe. So when we wrote the final track for this one, Moonchild was definitely like something that we had in mind. Like, this is gonna be the final track, and so like that's also why the ending is so like bizarre and very different to the rest of the song, because we knew that there would be nothing after that, so we could just go as crazy as we wanted on it. But yeah, it's we like to write our albums like as if there were albums, not just like, okay, we've got 10-12 songs, let's just see what fits and call it an album.
Hell yeah, it's fucking awesome.
I appreciate bands that still write albums to be albums.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the industry has changed a bit in the last, say, like 10 years. But to be honest, the heavy or alternative music, like, we still love our album format.
Yeah.
Like you see rappers and like pop artists, and they can release like track after track, and like everyone's happy with it. But I feel like, yeah, in our community, it's very much like it's still very much a big thing. Like, people still like to put in the work, and fans still like to have their first listen like be a proper one and as it was intended by the artist. So that's something I really like about being in part of this scene as well.
Yeah, and that's definitely the case, but it feels like the music industry is shifting to the point where it's like the labels and the artists feel like they have to just like put out 5 or 6 singles. Mm-hmm. And
I mean,
I know.
Obviously we do.
Yeah.
Obviously we do. Yeah. Like, I feel bad because we see fans being like, oh no, not another single. Like, we won't have anything to listen by the time the album drops. But like, what is the name of the game? What else can you do in this day and age to get some recognition, to get some like? I mean, obviously, I guess the no album approach is working very, very well for Falling in Reverse. But
Mm. Yeah.
that's honestly pretty much the only band I can think of that is working with this approach. Like even Bring Me are still releasing albums, even though they say they wouldn't, like a while ago.
Yeah, and then
So
they
Well,
just
I
said,
mean-
that's
well,
it.
now they just delayed their new fucking album. And
Like the third
We-
time.
Well, I'm grateful for that because it was supposed to come out the same day as ours. But
It's like, yes.
but but in a way, I'm not even sure it would have been like that much of a big deal because like they are so much bigger, like almost mainstream. So it's not like there's any form of competition. Maybe like it could have been great because maybe some like more outlets, more like media would have been talking about the alternative scene on that day. So who knows? Maybe it would have been beneficial actually to have our album come out the same day. I mean, we're still running against I think Tesseract and a couple of other releases. So it's still quite a stacked day for release.
yeah.
Oh, for sure. So, would you be able to tell us where Headspace is at while you were creating this record?
Well, I think the biggest difference compared to the first one was we were actually touring when we did that record, and it's I mean I guess you can hear that because I think a lot of the songs have more efficiency to them. Like we obviously were because we've been lucky enough to tour quite a lot. Like the first album was ready a long time before it was released. Where it was released in November 21. Because like things started to look up sometimes in 2021. So it was actually a good call on our end because we released the album in November and like we started touring it in March of 2022 and it's been pretty much nonstop ever since. So it's been a lot of work to fit like writing sessions and producing sessions into it. But at the same time, I think, we were more focused because we had like the direct connection to the fans for the first time. We could definitely see what parts of the first album they were reacting to the most live. We are also seeing like other bands we are touring with and we're like, wow, like this is very smart. We should try and do our own version of that or stuff like that. Or, oh my God, like we toured a lot with Landmarks, which are like
Fantastic
very,
band.
very good friends. And they're absolutely brilliant. I mean, I wouldn't say we do the same style, or I wouldn't say there's a real Landmarks influence on the new album, but the way that they see their whole heart as being something made for people to lose their mind live, that's definitely something that we kept in mind. So yeah, I think there's a lot of, I mean, it's probably a bit heavier all around than the first one because I mean, we are metal bands and as much as we love like ambient and like chill part and stuff, we can tell even when we are headlining that when people come to see a metal show, they want to fucking fight.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, you have to give the people what they want, at least just the right amount.
Yeah, and that's what I noticed. You guys definitely leaned into the heavier side on this record. Like, I did not expect for this album to open up with like a headbanger because that's not what the last album opened up with, you know?
No, not really. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. So how do you recommend your fans to listen to this album for the first time? Should I do it in the car with friends, in the dark with headphones on? Is it a workout album, party album? What do you personally recommend?
You know what? Like, I think I remember that question from the last interview we did. I'm pretty sure I answered like headphones, like in the dark, get lost in it and stuff. And like you were saying, I think like this one could be a cool experience, like with friends. Like say if you've got friends who are into Resolve as well, just like gather at the one with the best like stereo system. Just like play it loud. It's slightly shorter than the first one as well, so it's maybe like not as deep and intense and self-reflecting. But yeah, like why not like make it like a party with friends? Like first listen through everyone like mostly quiet, just like getting into the groove, and then maybe like another run through where like people could be like discussing stuff because there's also like obviously a lot of like small details that you need to like really listen to get, and there's also like a lot of lyrical callbacks to the first album or even like older stuff. So that's something we love doing, and I'm sure a lot of people will catch on that as well. So
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah, it's fucking awesome. So this one should be super quick off the top of your head. I want you to describe this album for new listeners in 3 words, no more, no less.
I was gonna say to the point, but as like one word. So no, I'm gonna try and think of something else. Uh, I think like same again. Like I think the last time I went for some like very convoluted words. So I think I'll try to keep it more to the point this time. I'm thinking heavy.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I said cinematic already the last time, but this one is very cinematic as well. So let's say heavy, cinematic, and I want to say epic.
Epic.
Maybe that's bragging. Maybe that's bragging, but I mean, you have to, I guess.
Yeah, it's also accurate, so don't be mad at it.
Thank you. I'll take that.
So in that same train of thought, is there a certain feeling or emotion you want listeners to have while going through the album?
There is a lot of fuck, it's not nostalgia, it's the other one, melancholia.
Mm-hmm.
In lots of parts. Like one of my other favorite is a track, which is it 4, I think, Continuum, which is like very melancholic, very, I don't know, just like autumnal, which is like a weird thing to say, but to me it has this vibe. What else? I mean, we always try with our choruses, and because like Anthony, our singer, he can like, he has a very dynamic range. So like we always try, our goal with the chorus is always to have a bit of the chills on your hair. So that's I think that's the one thing we try the most, like just build it up, and when it's like, not especially with being like super violent or super like heavy, but just like bringing something melodic and hard hitting at the same time to just like take you higher.
Yeah.
That's weird, but I think it makes sense.
Oh,
yeah, no, that absolutely fucking makes sense.
Yeah.
So are you able to touch on any particularly challenging or standout moments from the creation of this album, positive or negative?
Well, like I was saying, the biggest challenge was the timing, basically, because we knew we wanted to keep it short. Like we are still very much a band that's like up and coming, so like we didn't want to take too long in between the first album, because like we've been lucky enough to have some sort of success with it. So we thought, let's strike the iron while it's soft. So it's definitely been a challenge to make it like while touring at the same time. I don't think we could have done it if we weren't self-producing, because like we could just like do some work like whenever we could, as opposed to just like locking, say, 1 month into the studio. That would not really have been possible for us. Honestly, like it's been kind of a challenge lyrically, because we always put a lot of expectations on us on this matter, especially because like English is not our first language. So it's, in a way, I think it's harder for us to write lyrics than it would be for an American or English band.
Yeah.
Maybe we make it like too complicated sometimes. It's funny because like recently we were collaborating with a good friend. Like we've got the next single to come out of the album, and I mean it will be out by the time this podcast will be out, so I can talk about it freely. We've got this track All the Days, which is track 3. Like it's, it has this very like urban, almost like trap metal vibe to it. And we did an alternative version with Aaron from 1056, formerly Betraying the Martyrs, and Zilly from Paleface. I don't know if you are familiar with Paleface, the Swiss band, which is, so we had them at the studio, like, and they wrote some more like lyrics and vocal parts. And watching Aaron, who is like a native English speaker, write lyrics was very eye-opening for us, because it kind of just, I mean, a lot of words come to him more naturally, but at the same time, he doesn't just like second guess everything he's doing. Like, oh, is this correct? Is this like grammatically accurate? So, I mean, we tried like as much as possible to not second guess ourselves that much. But to be honest, like we tend to do like longer songs rather than short ones
Mhm.
with a lot of vocal delivery. So it was a lot of lyrics to write.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been challenging at times, and it can be definitely frustrating when you are like sitting in the studio, the track is playing and looping and looping and looping, and you're trying to come up with like something efficient for the chorus, and you just cannot because you've been doing this for like 2 weeks already. So sometimes it was frustrating.
Oh my
I must
God.
say, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's got to be like pulling teeth.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah, I guess I've never pulled one, but,
No.
but I guess it is.
For this question, I want you to picture you're on tour, you're at a gas station for a rest stop. What is your snack of choice?
Favorite snack.
Mhm.
Like I think the one we are stopping at the most on tour would be Burger King.
Okay.
And I mean, I really like Burger King, so I can't really complain. But like if you gave me the choice, I mean, I'm a simple man, like I would be happy with a pizza anytime. So yeah, just a plain like Regina pizza, ham, tomatoes, mushrooms, rucola. Is that the
Oh, ricotta.
if you,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
no, not the cheese, the
Oh.
you know, the small leaves like the
Oh.
yeah, I think that's rucola in English.
Arugula.
Yeah,
Arugula.
arugula.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Fuck
If
yeah.
I'm feeling fancy, yeah, that could definitely be my deathbed meal, I
All
guess.
right.
Hell yeah.
All right.
Fuck yeah.
Mhm.
So on the topic of food, if the band was a dish, what dish would the band be and why?
Oh, you know what? I know. I think we'll be, and that's it's weird to say because it's an English dish, but I mean we've got our own version of that in France, and that would be a shepherd's pie, I guess,
Oh. Mm-hmm.
because it's layered, because it's a lot, you know, like it's something that goes like deep into your stomach and you can feel it, like it's very dense, just
Oh,
like
it's
we are.
filling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's filling. Yeah, I get. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Like, yeah, I think
Mhm.
that's yeah, yeah, that could be. I mean, that's not something I want to eat right now because it's definitely not a
Ugh.
dish for hot summer days.
No.
But I mean, but we are. I mean, I want to get some sushi now, but I wouldn't picture ourselves as a sushi, to be honest.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
that's
Fair
fair.
enough.
That's fair.
So for the last couple questions, we're going to shift completely away from music. So if you could be one animal for the rest of your life, what animal would you be and why?
You know what? Give me 1 second.
Oh, he has a prop.
I will be this one.
Oh my God.
This is
What?
this is my cat Soso, and it's just
So-
the best cat in the world. Like he's so kind, so chill, so he's everything to me. So I mean, I will be this one.
Perfect.
That's so fucking sweet. Hell yeah.
Hey, did you ever get like did you ever get this kind of response? Oh, you know what? I got the thing right with me.
Usually people are like, I'd be my own dog or something, but it's like you brought your actual cat. We've
Yeah.
never
And
had
then
that before. That
he,
was
wa-
beautiful.
he was right there, like scrunching at the door. So
had to let him in.
Yeah. So if you could have lunch with any celebrity or artist, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
There's a lot. Uh, I would love to pick. I mean, is it a celebrity? Yeah, I guess it's a celebrity. I mean, I don't know. Like I was gonna say Quincy Jones because like he's just one of the most iconic producers
Mm-hmm.
in the story, and like I feel like he's responsible for the way for the way music is kind of produced now in the bigger sense of the picture.
Mhm.
Oh man, I don't know. I was watching a Phil Collins live show. I mean, on YouTube yesterday, and it fucking blew my mind. So, like at the moment, I would love to speak with him about that.
Mhm.
or maybe, or you know what, or same like I just watched Oppenheimer. Like I was a bit late, but I just love like Christopher Nolan,
Mm,
and I would love to have like a conversation about him, like just hear him talk, because like from his movies you can tell that he's like so passionate
mhm,
about a lot of stuff, like, and I think like a lot of stuff that goes in between very generalistic. Like he could talk about the most famous movies in the world, but I think he could also like nerd out on like cameras
mm.
and like technical stuff, and I think that would be like a very interesting conversation.
Absolutely.
Oh
Yeah, that
yeah.
man, he fucking knows everything. It's crazy.
Yeah, he seems to he can do anything. Like have you watched Oppenheimer?
Mhm. I have not. I
It's
really want to
crazy. Like
see it because Killian Murphy is like one of my favorite actors ever, and
I
he's
see.
finally like the fucking lead. So I
Yeah,
really want to see it.
and what a lead, what a lead. But what struck out to me the most is like, as far as I know, it's like I don't think Nolan has ever done like any film that looks like this one. I mean, it's not. I wouldn't say it's his most like it's his craziest visuals,
Mhm.
but it's just I don't know. It's a whole new like it's a whole new like directing from
Mhm.
him. I feel, but it's still like done splendidly. Like if it was it's his fucking 10th movie of this style, so it's crazy, so good.
Absolutely. Anyone like the extra mile with actually like recording it on film versus like
Yeah,
digital shit. So it's like just the amount of work on that alone and like
yeah,
preserving those as you're going. Like if someone fucking like spills coffee on that, you're fucked. Like
yeah,
there's so
exactly.
many
Yeah,
things that could go wrong with that, but he
yeah,
did that. It's crazy. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's great.
Um,
It's so good.
so for this last question, boom, you're on a desert island. You can bring one movie, one album, and one person. Who and what are you bringing?
Mm. You know what? One album. You remember that movie Into the Wild
Yeah,
with who was it? Emil Hirsch. It's Sean Penn, right? Who directed it, I think.
I think so.
Anyway,
I've only seen it once, yeah.
and you remember the soundtrack? Like it was Eddie Vedder, the Pearl Jam guy. He did the whole album, just him, and sometimes it's ukulele, sometimes it's guitar, sometimes it's slightly bigger arrangements, but it's always like very intimistic.
Mm.
And that's one of my favorite album. And I've always like, this is not the first time I'm getting the desert island question, but I still come back to this one album because it would be a very fitting soundtrack for someone just trying to build a whole new life just for himself,
Mhm.
just
Wow.
for, well, just for myself and for my girlfriend, because I imagined that would be the one I chose.
Mm.
Yeah.
And what was and so the movie, because the soundtrack of the movie would be the album, but the
Mhm.
movie, uh, I mean, I think my favorite movie of all time is Back to the Future. That's the only tattoo I have. I have a Flix capacitor right here,
Fuck yeah.
but I wouldn't take it with me because I just like I can close my eyes and see the movie because
Yeah.
I've seen it so much. Um, at the moment, I don't know. Could be Interstellar, to be honest.
Nice.
Ooh,
Like,
Interstellar. Yeah.
yeah, it could be Interstellar, honestly. Because yeah, it's yeah. I think it's still my favorite. Like, there's some movies like I have a emotional connection with because like it reminds me of my childhood. It reminds me of like some special moments. But I think overall, yeah, Interstellar would be my favorite movie, and it's quite long as well. So more more replay value, you know.
Exactly.
Perfect.
That's like 3.5 hours. It's great though. It's great.
Yeah.
So as I said, that's all the questions you have today. Is there anything that you would like to plug?
I mean, in if some listeners are live in France, I mean, I imagine some of them would. We are touring, we are headlining France for this album starting right at the beginning of October, so right after the album release. We are very much focused at the moment on building a whole new live show, like much bigger, much more efficient. So I'm very looking forward to that. Yeah, I mean, that would be my plug, I guess.
All right.
And I don't know, like I would, yeah, just go watch Oppenheimer, go watch Barbie as well if you haven't already. I mean, I guess everyone has, but it's very good as well. So
All right.
and stay hydrated as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Well, thank you for now. It's been Robin from Resolve, and we have been the Good Noise Podcast.